Welcome everybody to Evolution to Recovery, the podcast. If you don't know, now you know. Please come on YouTube, subscribe to Evolution to Recovery, hit the bell notification, follow us on Facebook. We got E2R. We also have a page for our, the Recovery House program as well. But TikTok, Instagram, we're on all platforms. We're trying to make everything known to the alcoholic and addict. And right now I have a Christian brother on here. I'm not Christian. I said brother because he is a brother in recovery to me. Either which way, anyway, no matter what, though, you know, whatever. We got him here. That's all. It ain't no big deal. But what I'm saying is, please like everything, you know, if you can, because it helps the next alcoholic and addict. And he's going to tell a story of how it helped him and what he did, and that might help, you know, other people, because he is Christian, and people that are Christian or anything and believe in a higher power can see how they could change by having a higher power. But anyway, today we got Billy on the show. And Bill, what's up? Why are you here?
Well, I'm here to represent Jesus and what Jesus has done for me in my life. And, you know, how the Lord, you know, when he wants to glorify himself, he reaches to the very bottom of the barrel and picks out a dirtbag like me and holds me up. This was not my plan. This was his plan for my life. And just, you know, I've known you for a couple of years. And, like, you know, you knew me before. You knew me in addiction. I was in and out of your houses a couple of times, maybe a few. And, you know, here I am a couple of years later, and I'm sure that you can see there's a difference in me and my son. You know, my son's in Christian recovery as well.
Yes, your son is not gluing carpet tiles down in my room. When he could have, he glued carpet tiles down in my room, dude. That's the whole damn floor up. But anyway, yeah, Jesse's a good dude too. You came to my program. What was your thoughts back then though? Like when you were because I'm going to go back, but I like you. So you got there. I remember you had a bike, right? You had a motorcycle.
I had a Harley. There's only one bike.
That's right.
But anyway, you know, we come out of these programs, 28 days or whatever it is, and you know, I start getting my weight up. I get some new Air Force Ones, and get into one of these houses and forget about the desperation and the streets I just came off of, and start thinking. And then I have a critical heart to everything. You know, these rules suck. I don't want to listen to this guy. Look, this guy is not about what he says he's about, and just start bickering and I believe that, you know, God will take drugs and alcohol out of you. Okay, so once drugs and alcohol are off the table, he's like, okay, now we're going to deal with the real problem, and that's your heart, your pride, your ego, your bitterness, your critical heart. You know, your envy towards others. Why does this guy get to do this and I don't get to do that? And it's been a continual in and out door for me, because I never ever could remember 6 weeks before. I could never, you know, I always, you know, it's called euphoric recall. You know, we're built to have euphoric recall. Euphoric recall is, I'll be 6 weeks clean and remember the fun times of getting high and go back. You never remember the bad times, right? You remember the good times. It's called euphoric recall. You know, you get around certain people, you'll have euphoric recall. Certain songs, certain situations will give you euphoric recall. So, you know, I'd stay away from that stuff now. You know what I mean?
Well, right now, I mean, like we're sitting here, and there's two books on the table. One of them is closest to you with your keys on it.
That's my Bible.
Do you carry that all the time?
Yeah, I have a million Bibles.
Okay.
But this is my 1 year Bible, and so.
What's that consist of?
1 year Bible is a Bible that goes by each day, and it brings you through a section of the Old Testament, section of the New Testament, section of Psalms, and a section of Proverbs. So you read the days stuff, and within 1 year you'll be through the Bible. So it's like, for me, I got my GED when I was in prison when I was 16. So, like, you know, it's easy learning for me, you know. I mean, like, and you start.
So there's 365 days in this, pages in this book?
Good guess.
Okay.
But anyway.
Well, no, I mean.
Yeah, there's 365 days. There's a couple of them are a couple pages, you know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha.
You know, and that's like, I send out my Devo to people.
Yeah, I get Yeah, Rob, you're doing great, man. You know how many days are in the year? I'm sorry. Yeah, say, look, you got to bear with me a little bit. You know, he's talking about Jesus and God and stuff like that. You know, I don't know if my shirt's catching on fire yet or what, man. But
it works for me, man. And like, I never had discipline in my life. I never had authority in my life. And like, so you come out of addiction and to come under authority. That's what we call it, Chris. Come under authority. It would be like to come in this house. Okay, here's the rules. Right? I'd be like, yeah, whatever, man. Where's my room? You know? But then you want to complain about the rules, break the rules, stuff like that, because I think I know, right? If we're in Vegas and the odds would be stacked against me, every decision I ever made for myself was bad. So I went to an addiction, Arise Discipleship Ministry
hold on
in
one
Maine.
second. Well, my bad. I apologize.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. But where did you grow up? Like, where
I was born in Camden, and I'm in my 50s. So my story played out in Camden and Kensington, back and forth across the bridge for 40 years. I would burn up everything in Camden. People would be looking to kill me or whatever. I'd jump over and get lost in Kensington for a couple months till the heat died off, or the police would be looking for me, one or the other. And then I would take breaks, go to prison for a while, or to county jail. And like, when you live a life like that, you know, people be panicking, getting booked in jail. I'm like, yeah, man, I finally get to lay down. And
why? It was a break for you to get your thoughts together, get your weight back, stuff like that.
Yeah, and get healthy. And you know what?
Now,
my family felt better when I was in jail, because they knew I was safe and I wasn't hurting myself and I wasn't hurting anybody else.
Even that situation though, and this is no lie. I mean, me just thinking how quick you said that though, like how you were like basically saved at that moment to get better a little bit right there. Like just even if it wasn't about religion or anything, like you were running back and forth, people wanted to kill you, all this stuff. You get locked up. Jail's not a pretty place. You're in a dangerous situation there. So
that's also like one of what has become a major issue for me was I'm institutionalized. So when I got clean a couple years ago, an 11-month period, I was in 17 sober living houses. I've been in hundreds because I'm institutionalized, man. Like, you know, there's a cup in the sink. You know, what are you, snitch? You know what I mean? I want to fight. You know, I was defining myself by that, man. I was not good with other people. I came into this a couple years ago, and my pastors got with me, man. Like, you know, I needed to hear some hard things that people really didn't have the balls to tell me. And it's like, man, you have no people skills, man. Like, and really, I was just scared to death at that point. That's just something that we don't cover, especially being defined by today's world as men. We don't talk about fears. And like, really, man, how I react to fear is with violence, you know? And it's not because I'm tough, it's because I'm all feared up.
Well, I know when you came across my path, you were years ago, you didn't listen to nothing. Like, it was like you were just there and you come blasting with your Harley down on the pavement. I'm like, you can't. Then you tried to like, you gotta like do it quietly, or you said, and you would roll it 2 houses down. I mean, it's a Harley, you can hear it all the way down there.
Yeah.
You know, and you just didn't listen to nothing.
And so I would get in these houses, man, and I'd find the guys that were like selling gabapentin and Wellbutrin, and I'd put the smash down on it, you know what I mean? And, you know, I always had to be with the cool guys. I could never be the one guy that stood alone and said, yo, this ain't right. You know what I mean? I don't look at, like, you know, you're the house, you're the house, and I told you before, if something goes wrong, I'm going to say something. Because that's really love, and that's not snitching, man. Like, we get defined by the street terminology of snitching, when really, man, I'm just trying to show you love, man. Like, you're displaying some things that may not pan out too well for you. You know what I mean?
I have met people too. I mean, for a person like you're saying, like you were institutionalized and stuff like that. I have seen people come to a recovery house, no matter where they've been. One, they hold Kensington like a badge of honor that they survived, like they went to Iraq. I had somebody on the show that went to Iraq. Believe me. So the thing is, though, is that they come in and they're scared and they wear a mask.
Yeah.
And they were all kilo dealers and they were doing like all these big crimes and they were heistmen. And really, they just, had good families and they're just scared, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, they'll be like, well, I ain't no snitch. Well, the truth of the matter is this, is that you're not, there's a choice that I believe people have to make to where they don't want to be around that stuff no more. Like, they don't even want to deal. Like, yo, this is how we do it. We're going to tell you about it. We're going to try to teach you. But if you ain't willing to learn, I'm letting whoever in the authority that you're talking, or wherever they're at, I'm going to let them know.
Yeah.
It ain't snitching, I'm saving you.
It's like, the Bible says, am I my brother's keeper? You know what I mean? Am I being my brother's keeper by letting him walk by, displaying something that could kill him? And listen, from addiction, we relapse long before we actually put a drug in our body. So, and I'm going to start displaying stuff long before I actually put a drug or alcohol in my mouth. And like, am I watching the guys in the house and allowing that to happen? And you're not the most popular guy when you rebuke somebody, dude. Proverbs 27:6, I believe, open rebuke is better than love carefully concealed.
What's that mean?
It means like, I'd rather have you come to me as a brother and tell me, this is what's up, correct me, rebuke me. Yeah. Because, that's really showing love, you know what I mean? When you can say, hey man, like, yo, you all right, man? Because this ain't cool the way you're acting. But we don't want to do that because we don't want to ruffle feathers or be that guy in the house, here he comes type guy. But, I had some insecurities. And like, listen, I would never say that, especially when something, I had some insecurities going on with me, man, where I needed to be like, okay, are we willing to say that we're a people pleaser to a certain level? Because I didn't want to be the guy that was unliked because I'm telling the truth or saying anything, and it really boils down to, am I defining myself by the ways of this world, by street credit or the things that go on the street? Because the things that went on the street is what got me here.
Well, I think the problem is that people, like, even when we're out there, right, people enable us, which is no good for people like me and you. I know your story, somebody giving me something, I'm snatching it. I'm taking it, I'll steal it, I'll take your money, I'll use my money, whatever. Then they come in and they enable people because it's the only way they know to try to get somebody to like them. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, they come in and they always want something for free. They don't want to work hard for it. It's a lot of enabling going on.
Well, here it's like, you can enable somebody to death, The guys coming through the doors here are raw. They're 28 days clean. They don't really know their identity yet. That's why it's important that we stand in the gap for these guys and help these guys and get them, rate them and show them a way, because they'll define themselves by the world again. You know what I mean? Like everybody knows the story of Moses, taking Israel out of slavery. Like, what you don't know is, like, Israel was in slavery for 400 years, crying out to God to take them out of slavery. And they probably had their own version of what that was going to look like. They didn't think some 80-year-old guy was going to walk in, Moses, and do it, right? But he did, man. And, they were free. As soon as they got a month from slavery, they started worshiping a cow. They forgot what God did to them, for them, right? They reached a point of desperation, crying out to God, like I did. God, please get me out of this. And then God gets me out. 28 days later, I'm strapping on Air Force One, forgetting about what God did for me. You know what I mean? So it's in our nature to forget.
So you would say, so adding the story of Moses, right, to now, you would say, all right, so somebody goes to a rehab, they get out, they come to a recovery, and they're good. They're good. Got a higher power. You've got whatever. Yeah. Save them. At that point, And just like when Moses came down off of I know the story. When he came down, though, there was prostitution, like all kinds of stuff going on.
A golden calf.
So they go to rehab, and then they do it. They come to it. They don't want to listen to nothing. They don't care anymore about God saving them. And then they go to say Kensington or wherever that may be. It ain't got to be Kensington, but it could be Camden. It could be anywhere.
One of the reasons that kept me out in addiction so long is so God took me out of slavery. And I'd get 6 weeks away and forget about that slavery. But here's the hit. The hit is when I forget about the slavery and start thinking I did this, I'm putting the shackle of slavery back on my leg. Nobody came and captured me and put me back in slavery. I willingly went back into slavery, like you did, I'm sure, every time. You know what I mean? It's like somebody unchaining you in the basement here, getting to the end of the block and going, you know what? I'm gonna go back.
I'm gonna go back. Here you go. Put the shackle on my.
Yeah, dude. And listen, I've never ever. I've had 6 months clean. I've had a year clean. I've had all that stuff, and I always go back because I forget. They say in the rooms, keep your memory green. It's the only thing that I could really put to words here for that, keeping your memory green. I could never keep my memory green of how bad it was. So once I had truth poured into my life, the truth that I had pride issues, I had ego issues, I'm a selfish. Nobody was. I'm scared. Once truth is poured in my life, it wasn't me. It wasn't an effort of mine. It was just listening to what people talk about God's will all the time. It means what's God's will for my life? Is God's will for my life to get clean, get a job, get a house with a picket fence? It never worked. For me, it never works. I have to stay plugged in to service because, I run by a belief that God pulled me out of the fire to go back into the fire and pull others out. And that's what's kept me clean. And I didn't realize, I never had peace or contentment in my life. And when I started listening to these truths about myself, peace and contentment was just came. And when it came, I never experienced something like that. Peace and contentment, man.
So you feel like you have peace right now in your life?
I have absolute peace. And the peace is
what does that
problems,
feel like? What's that
Problems will come, man. Nowhere in the Bible does it say, or in AA Big Book does it say your problems are going to go away. But you can have peace through your problems. See, when people, this is my theory, happiness is a high, So with a high comes a fall. See, when you have the Lord in your life and you have peace in your life, you'll have, happiness is here, right? Your fall is here. Exceeding joy in your life. No matter what comes down the road, I can press in and press through it. As addicts, we lived on mountaintops. From one mountaintop experience to another mountaintop experience. But the hit is, grass don't grow on mountaintops. It grows in the valleys. And because I avoided the valleys of life my whole life, there was never no growth in my life. Then I find myself 50 some years old, and I look back at my life that looks like them scenes from World War II bombed out buildings. You look back and people are like, yeah, you need to fix that. Listen, cuz it's easier to keep bombing than fix it.
So you feel like all the problems that you experienced and went through brought you closer to God. So
I serve with Rock Ministries in Kensington, and about 13 years ago, dude, I was out in front of there, high as could be, and Buddy Osborne, the pastor there, came out and starts engaging me and talking, man, and I'm giving him my sad story of why I should be there. Man, I'm crying. Yeah, he's like this, man, you know what, dude? God's gonna do something great with you. You're so lucky. I'm like, bro, I'm like 129 pounds.
Yeah.
30 cents in my pocket. I'm just trying to get buck out. I'm like, I'm so lucky. What do you mean, man? He goes, listen to me. I deal with people that are hitting hard times over credit scores or little car accidents. He goes, man, God's got you in Navy SEAL training. He goes, all this hard stuff, God's going to use it to glorify himself. And when he does, you're going to do something great. I was like, yeah, right. So I lived and defined myself by all the bad things that happened in me in my life. And I always walked with my head down, and I always wanted to be somebody else. And I could sit here and tell you honestly, now that I have the Lord in my life, I wouldn't trade places with nobody. Because what was once weak is now strong. He has made me perfect in imperfection. He's given me peace and contentment, exceeding joy in my life. And like, I see what Buddy was talking about, you know, because we're in service, we're dudes that are in service, and I can sit and talk to guys, and guys will tell me, man, you just don't understand what I did. And I'm like, man, let me show you my resume. You know what I mean? Because if I can do it, you can.
So you're 120 pounds, you're outside there, he's talking to you, you don't realize what's happening. So you're there talking to Buddy. You're at the Rock Ministry down in Kensington. I'm gonna, some people that don't know, they know it's a phenomenal place. They help a lot of people. They do boxing for children, adults too, right? I mean,
up to 21.
Okay, and up to 21. I mean, if anything after that, I think you're just trying to tune up on your skills anyway. So I don't think you're going in the ring, but so you're there and you're like lost, dude. And from what I'm getting in, you're sitting there and you're looking at this guy.
Like he's nuts.
Yeah, like, yeah, dude.
Like he's nuts.
Do you know what I've been doing?
Like you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know my story, dude.
Yeah.
Well, man, listen, look up Buddy Osborne on YouTube. He's got a story too, dude. You know what I mean? He built that church. He was in prison. He was an enforcer for the mafia. Okay. And like, so God takes people like us. And if you allow it, you know what I mean? If you allow it, you know, if you're waiting for God to just come down and do a miracle in your life, it's probably not going to happen. Like, if you put 5% in, God will put up the other 95%, but you got to get up and do some stuff. You know,
like what though? What is that stuff that you would have to do?
I mean, everybody's
and that's
different.
That's me asking as well.
Everybody's different, man. You know what I mean? So when David, everybody knows the story of David and Goliath, right? So David sees Goliath. He's a young dude, young kid, 16, 17 years old. And nobody would fight Goliath. And he goes, I'll fight Goliath. And King Saul goes, oh, yeah, right. He goes, you better take my armor. Because nobody had armor back then, but the king did. He's like, put my armor on, dude, go fight that guy. Well, David puts the armor on and says, man, this armor don't fit. Right? Takes the armor off, picks up 5 stones, and everybody knows the rest of the story. So, like, you know, the hit with that is, I can't fight with your armor on. I can only fight with my armor, and everybody's armor looks different. You know what I'm saying?
So you got to figure out your own.
You got to figure out your own stuff. So, like, when God took the Israelites into the desert for 40 years, it's like, you know, I went away to school ministry and other programs 1 year each, and he took me out because, you know, they say, the Bible says, be still and know I am God. He took me away from this area and just poured into me. Where did
you go?
I went to a program called Arise Discipleship Ministry. It's a Calvary Chapel. It's in Maine, Machias, Maine. Dude, listen, man, I got pulled off the streets of Camden, and my church has been trying to get me to go there for 10 years. I was so desperate. I was like, okay. And they're like, they put me on a bus, 20-hour bus ride. I get up there, dude. It's on a mountain. The closest Walmart was 58 miles away. Right. Them dudes in Maine be like, "Oh, look, the new Walmart sneakers dropped." You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's only the air, right?
Listen, man. The first 3 days there, I just kind of crashed out, and I got up and realized, man, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And then the silence kicked in. And then on the third day, I just went to him. I said, "Yo, you gotta get me back to Camden." He's like, "What's the matter? What's going on?" I said, "Listen, I can do a lot of things, man, but I can't do this. This is too quiet. This is too quiet." Listen, I had Kensington and Camden, the noises and all that stuff going for so long. God wanted to put me aside for a year and just talk to me.
I just want to say this real quick because it's on what you're talking about. So like a year and a half, whatever the time frame was going, I was going through a lot of things, and I remember breaking down and crying, right? And the reason was the silence. Yeah. I realized, and I don't even know if I'm all, like, you know, I'm around a lot of people, but at that moment, I didn't want to be around people. People, like, were staying, you know, I wasn't thinking right. I was just, like, all in my head all the time, you know what I mean? I was going through a lot of crazy stuff that was, like, making me upset. I remember sitting on my couch because the only thing I could hear was the fridge running. And, dude, I started breaking down because silence, I realized I had to think and I had to be just where I was at and by myself. And now, real quick, right before I broke down crying, though, I drove to Florida, right? This is sober. I got 12 and a half years sober, so you got to understand what I'm saying. I drove to Florida, was there for 2 days, right? Visited my friend. I had my clothes in the back. I got a big program. I said, I got to get away right now. I went down there. I had all my clothes in the back. I was there for 2 days. He calls me in the morning. He said, yo, where you at? I said, I left 2 in the morning. I said, I'm in South Carolina. He went, no. I said, I'm in Georgia. He goes, yeah, hangs up. He calls me back. He's like, yo, Roy, where are you? I said, I'm in South Carolina now. I'm going back home. Yeah. And what I realize is no matter where I go, I take me with me. But dude, it's hard to be okay with yourself. So it was driving me nuts.
I had, God, there's no phones up there for a year. No communication. I was out on the phone for a half hour a week. Landline. And,
so Walmart's like Disneyland if you get there.
And listen. So they would take the guys to Walmart once a month or every couple weeks, and this is a critical part of like what happened with me is when I got there, dude. Listen, the family's gone, everything's gone. There's nobody to call, dude. That half hour, there was nobody for me to call. Dudes are getting packages Amazoned in. Right, and then they're going to the Walmart every couple weeks, and we all had to go together. And I didn't have money. Yeah. I'm surviving off the clothes that are in the attic that dudes left behind. And man, I was pissed and I was bitter, at the other dudes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where my heart was. But in that, God was starting to form and mold me. And be like, you know what, you're going to have to be okay without your Air Force Ones. You're going to have to be okay wearing the stuff out there. You're going to have to rely and depend on me. And then...
You seem like you're getting emotional thinking back on it.
It was, listen, man, it was a game changer for me, man, because I was, what God does is he was doing... when God gets in your life, dude, he's going to do a heart transplant. They call him the great heart surgeon. But he doesn't use anesthetic, dude. It hurts dealing with some of these things. Here I am stripped of my hats and the stuff that, makes us feel good. And, I had to survive like that and just learn to be okay. I'm okay. Hey, check it out. I'm all right without that stuff.
Now, was this place real big? Like on a mountain?
It's a house that has 12 guys in it.
Okay.
It's on a mountain, and it's in the middle of nowhere, dude.
Is that purposely 12, like the 12 disciple type thing?
Or? I always wondered that too. Paulie, is that because of the 12 disciples?
We got to know about that, Paulie. Paulie.
There was a lot of lessons learned there, man. And a critical thing too, like God, part of my story is I never was a good father, and so I got out of prison and my kids are in their teens. I never spent time with them, but they're already getting into the game. So like a man teaches his kid to hunt, I got out and taught my kids street stuff. Yeah. And I wasn't there as a father, so we're like best friends. We get high together, we protect each other, we fight together, we do everything. We've done time together. And so when I left the street, my only concern was my son Jesse. And last I seen, he was beat up. I got beat up in Camden. He got beat up in Kensington. We were both mashed up when I on the bus. And I'm like, dude, you sure you're good, dude? He's like, yeah, I got it. Well, he started disappearing, and like, so my pastor from down here would call up to me and be like, "Yo, Bill's son's missing." And then a couple times he called up and said, "Bill's son called me, overdosed in the hospital." When I got down there, he had pulled the stuff out and left. This happened 3 or 4 times. And remember, I said I had nothing or nobody, but I did have my son, you know? And so it got to about 4 months in, man, and it's like his 4th overdose. He crashed the car, was running from the police, and nobody could find him. So I went to the director. I said, "You got to get me out of here now, dude." I said, "You got to get me on a bus." He's like, "Billy, man, just trust in God." I said, "God don't know Kensington like me." You know what I mean? And here, he overdosed, and that director reached out to somebody down here to go scoop him up. And they put him in a Christian program in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. So, you know, 4 months in, I had to stay still, trust that God had my son. Because obviously I didn't, because I was getting high when I wanted my son to stop getting high while I was high, which is ridiculous. But it was, you know, here's another prayer of desperation. Like, God, you know, if you save my son, I'll do whatever for you forever. So when they called me and said that my son was 2 hours away in a Christian program, I didn't forget. I said, all right, dude, what do you want to do with me? Let's do it, right? So, you know,
So you made a bond with God.
I made a promise to God, you know, and like, so one of my, I wasn't around for my kids. I don't want to get into this story, but you know, my last wife, she died. I lost my son, he's 15 now, but Diaper stepped in and took him, and I was in prison by the end of the day. So it was one day, you know. So, dude, it's just like God, you know, David scriptures, Joel 2:25. The Lord your God will restore to you the years the swarming locusts have eaten. Like, I was never a father to my kids. So now he puts dudes in my life that need a father. And I get to be a father to people I'm not related to, you know. I do children's ministry now. So, like, I get that. So, like, how God's restoring us, he's let me be a father to people that help people to these dudes that didn't have relationships. And I didn't see that coming.
Did you leave that program though?
I graduated.
You graduated, so you never left though to go, like,
No,
you never left.
No.
You wanted
God stepped in, dude.
Yeah.
God stepped in and saved him.
So now he's in there. He's in Lebanon, PA. But when
I'm in Maine.
When you graduate though,
so you know, a lot of people just do that program 9 months or 12 months, but you know, you could, if you wanted to really take it further, the next step would be school ministry. And how school ministry works is not something that you sign up for. It's something that you have to be asked to do.
okay. You can't just go. You have to. They have to ask you.
You have to be vetted. They have to pray about it. You have to have lived. You know, have a Christian type resume leading up to that. Is this guy serious? Like, so I taught. They had a school ministry in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and they accepted me, and I went there for a year, and it just furthered my education about the Lord. So those 2 years, and it's a life of service with no income. When I mean, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you don't have a job? No, listen, I had a job. You know, I would get up at 5 in the morning, and I wouldn't get back till 9 o'clock at night in service, helping other people.
That was your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going out and doing work projects for people that couldn't afford it. There's a big demographic of people that we just kind of put to the side that really need help. You know, and you know, in that I learned that you know, I was defining myself by the money I made. but my life had no purpose. You know what I mean? You know, you wanna bring purpose to your life. Go help somebody that can't afford help. Stand in the gap for some people that need help. You know, just be nice to people that normally people aren't too nice to. You know what I mean? And I spent a year doing that with no income. And here we go again. Like, so remember I told you about like the clothing? Well, here I'm relying on the Lord to get me through this with no income. Don't get it twisted. I live in a beautiful house. The church provided for me.
So the place you lived at was beautiful. It was nice.
Yeah. But it showed me the importance. You know, people always say money is the root of all evil. That's not true. It's the love of money is the root of all evil.
What's the difference in that?
Money is not the root of all evil. I have money in my pocket. It's not evil. The love of money.
It's the human being that chases it down.
Yeah. If your first love is money, like so I believe, you know, and what I read is we're born with a shrine in our heart, and in that shrine God resides. And what we do over time is we push God out of the way and put stuff there, women, relationship, drugs, right, in the shrine of our heart and worship that. You know what I mean?
So we fill that, with outside things instead of...
They say, you know, a lot of people, and this is nothing to do with addiction. You can deal with people that aren't addicts, you know? What's in the shrine of their heart, man? Like success, money, ambition, you know? Like that's why I, you know, do a heart check to make sure that God's in there. And like when God's in there, man, everything's good. Peace, contentment, stuff money can't buy. You know what I mean?
Now, do you believe you could feel like and be successful and have a lot of money?
Listen, I deal with people that...
I mean, what I'm asking you is this, though, so I'll rephrase how I said it, is this, though. There are people, though, that feel the way you're feeling, but they are successful.
So you can wind it up. Now, I'm a small business owner, Damascus Road Flooring, so what a Christian business owner looks like is this. You know, I have to, first of all, I represent Jesus Christ, right? So when I say I represent Jesus Christ, you should expect integrity, honor, honesty out of me. You're trusting me as a Christian businessman not to gouge your eye out. You know what I mean? And being above reproach. Above reproach is, you know, I could gouge your eye out. You know, some people see they could and just do it. You know what I mean? Integrity. Integrity is, to me, doing the right thing when nobody's there. You know, that's integrity. And like, you know, so when I tell you I'm a Christian businessman, that's what you should expect out of me. And with success, I don't, you know, I believe a good Christian businessman doesn't measure his success by money. It's by the people he helps. You know what I mean? I mean, if I'm hoarding my money, you know, like, you know, we had this conversation the other day, like, I don't ever want to sit and be comfortable with a man sitting over there that's hungry. I don't ever want to be like that. The old me would be like, screw him. You know what I mean? But I don't want to be okay like that. And when you walk out or past a situation like that, that's the seed of something bad that's going to grow in that shrine that you don't want there. You know what I mean? Am I so worried about my money and protecting my money? And it's, you know, when a good thing becomes the best thing, it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. I'm getting the message. Yeah. So now you graduated that ministry program.
I graduated school ministry 2 months ago, and so you know the next, you know, I've been praying. I knew that I was going to graduate soon. Like, Lord, you know, wherever you want me. I've had some places, you know, because what I ended up doing was facilitating addictions. What Christian addictions look like, you know, that's for another podcast. You know, well, it's, you know, it's different than, did secular recovery and AA and stuff, and a lot of people, you know, I get offended by the fact that you say there's a cure. It's not a disease. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, people, you know, there's a difference between being sober and being delivered. You know, I would never be able to just be sober and serve in Kensington because lightning's going to strike. So I believe God's delivered me from drugs. You know, Christian recovery is like this, and like, once again, I'm not trying to slander anybody, but I very rarely ever engage in conversations about drugs or alcohol in the programs, ever. Some of the programs, you actually get disciplined for drug talk at all, because it's just a symptom of a heart condition. You know what I mean? So, you know.
So, I mean, I believe this. This is what I do believe. I believe that, like, after I detoxed, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get extra sober. I say it all the time. Like, I didn't go, "Ooh, man, really?" You know, 3 months in, I'm really sober today.
Yeah.
The problem was my soul was empty.
Yeah.
It's me. It's all the thoughts that go through my mind.
And you know, actually, probably, I'll go out on a limb, but I didn't know how to deal with life.
No, I didn't.
You know,
no, not at all. No.
You know, here we are, full-grown men, don't even know how to live with people or anything like that, man. Like, hey, listen, one thing about, you know, that I like about your program is, first of all, you know, when me and my son contacted you, like, you're open to anything as far as getting clean, Christian recovery, AA, NA, whatever it is, man. Like, that's a nice heart.
Why do you say that though? Because when you came though, you did ask me if you could have. I was a little confused because nobody even asked me that ever. Honestly, out of all
Bible studies, or
nobody ever asked me, "Yo, can we have Bible study?" So I was like I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we live in a society where, like, you know, Jesus is just like this fable or something, and like, so a lot of people, you know, especially, you know, I do go to AA meetings, you know, and I try to be a light wherever I go. I try not to cause controversy, but if asked, I'm also, you know, expected to tell the truth, you know, every time, and about what's come, you know.
You help people that are not Christian, though.
Right.
Also,
So
right?
I believe this. If you take AA back to its rawest forms, its foundations, it was, you know, because a lot of the stuff in the AA Big Book parallels with the Bible. And I don't, you know this is fact, but I would say a lot of stuff they got out of the Bible, right?
Yeah, well, because the Oxford group was actually more, I believe, Christian, so they changed it to the AA book.
So because we're at it, AA was formed to bridge a gap to God. It was bridging a gap to God, right? And over time, man got in there and started throwing higher powers out and this and that and making it more difficult. And like, now that, you know, all I want to do is, hey man, tell you about myself. If like Dave interested, yo man, you want to come to church with me? Yeah. You know, I could listen. I could tell you about this, but I could also live it out in front of you. You know what I mean?
Seeing the action is more than words ever could say. You know what I mean?
So my other son, he didn't want me at his house, because, you know, I was horrendous, man. I was a terrorist, man. Like, he didn't want me there. He didn't want me near my grandkids. But at a point a couple years ago, he's like, look, I don't want you here, blah, blah, blah. Hitting me about the past, hitting me about this, but I'll let you take the grandkids to church. So every time I would, you know, go pick up my grandkids, I knew it was coming. But I got to take my grandkids. So over time, his arm got tired. And he started saying, I don't know it, but I believe this in my heart. Wow, this is real. This is real. And here we are today, and like I had my grandson boxing in Kensington at the Rock, learning about the Lord. I take my grandkids to church. I take my bougie granddaughters tanning. They're constantly calling me, where you at? And like, you know, the Ripper, Listen, when I stepped on that bus a couple of years ago to go to that program, broken and battered and beat up from Camden, I just wanted to try to get clean and not kill myself. I had no idea the ripple effect it was going to have on my entire family. And here we are a couple of years later, I need to say this, like, what's a man look like? I thought I was a man. I thought I was the man. You know what I mean? But really I wasn't. A biblical man, honor, integrity. We're to provide and protect for our family. I was so worried about what the people down the block or at the bar were saying about me that the people in my house very much suffered because of it. And I'm not beating nothing into their heads, man. Hey, listen. A Franciscan monk said 1,000 years ago, to teach people about the gospel, sometimes use words. He meant, if you have to, use words, but you should be living it out in front of them.
Action speaks louder. Yeah, I agree with that, though. I mean, I'll be honest with you. From you, because you do good for yourself. Like you do, you work, and your son does too. Yeah. So for you to call me, like me, I was like, whatever. I'm like, well, they could go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you choose to be around people to try to teach them good, and if you can, you.
So how that worked out is, I'll just say that, God blessed me with a good job. I'm a union floor layer, and my son is too. And when it came time to leave Lebanon, we have money for a house. And we were looking for a house, but like once again, we seek the Lord in things. And when we went and looked at houses, I wasn't getting a yes from God on the houses. And so, it was coming time to leave the other house, and Jesse's like, he goes, maybe we should just jump in the suburban house. I said, well, man, the only one I don't want is Angry Rob's.
Angry Rob, man.
That's his nickname. But anyway,
I'm happy.
So, me and Jesse been in houses for a couple of years now, and I was excited about getting a house. We make good money. I can get a dog, but come up with your own plans and then throw them away and do what God wants. You know what I mean? So, thankfully, this is available to us, and but what's so cool is when we got here, the first night here, me and my son are in the same room, and he looks over at me, he goes, I think I know why God brought us here. And I said, I know, dude, I know. And it's just try to be a light in this house. And it's a no-brainer. So I'm under authority from Buddy Osborne, The Rock, and I had a meeting with him last week, and I was telling him about this place and doing the Bible study, and I was like, but we were talking about moving, and he goes, nah, I think you guys should stay there. So it's just like, I'm under authority. It's like, okay. He goes, no, you guys are a light there, you stay there. So that's what I mean about having people in our lives with authority, you know what I mean? And, when it comes time, so if you're seeking God's will for your life, you'll know it, you know what I mean? There'll be confirmations that'll happen, you know what I mean? You'll feel, when you want to make a move for me, and it's from the Lord, it'll move smooth. When I'm pushing things, I'm kicking doors open, that probably they're shut for a reason. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I live my version of where spirit-led life is. You know what I mean? Hey, you get over here and you're dealing with guys that are in various, everybody's walk's different, and, they're open. It's right where we need to be, dude, and I'm glad that we listened.
So right now, though, I know, you keep bringing up Buddy and you keep bringing up The Rock and things like that. So what is it actually that you do? Because you said you deal with it.
So when I graduated to school ministry, I was Calvary Chapel, Lebanon. And okay, everybody's like, what's your next move? What's your next move? So as a Christian, I'm not going to go I don't jump and make a move and then fix it when I get there. So I spent some time praying about it. And Lord, where do you want me? And then I started going back to the Rock in Kensington. I'm traveling now, okay?
From Lebanon down to the Rock.
Yeah, down to the Rock. And then I was at some place, and in my authority in Calvary Chapel, Lebanon, senior pastor there, they had a thing that said they needed chaplains in Kensington. Now we're talking about a church with 500 people in it, and
what's that? The Rock, you mean?
No,
or up there?
Up there,
Okay.
500.
Really?
And I was taking care of the kids. I did see it, and when I went to walk out of the church, like 10 different people stopped me and said, "Yo, you need to do that chaplain thing in Kensington." So, and then later that day, I seen my senior pastor, and he's like, "Billy, you and Jesse need to do that Kensington thing."
No, wow.
So I filled out the application for the chaplain initiative in Kensington, and immediately they accepted us. So I'm in the chaplain initiative in Kensington, going in the streets and helping people. So what happened is I kept coming down. Now I got plugged in Kensington, and I unplugged from Lebanon. You know what I mean? Never make just a move. Mm-hmm. You know, I was the guy that like jumped in the water and looked up and said, "What kind of fish are in here?" And then sharks would pop up. You know, now I just make it's smooth move. So and I do get involved with the after school program, the Chaplain's Initiative, which is cleaning up the streets of Kensington. And that's a battle itself, but
so right now, right? I know the mayor's trying to do a lot of stuff in Philadelphia, down in Kensington and stuff like that, though. But the Rock Ministry was chosen to
spearhead it.
And what does that mean? Is that like
Rock, the Buddy, and the Rock Ministries in Kensington, the mayor and the police, to my knowledge, were the ones that Buddy's been down there in the fight on Kensington Ave for over 20 years. And they just reached a point where they came to him and said, "Yo, what do you think?" So the program, it's another thing I believe I'm qualified to do that because they're the streets I came out of. That looks like this is, we go into the streets and, and a chaplain is somebody that brings help with a spiritual overtone. That's all it is. They're bringing help with spiritual overtone. And Muslims go down there and get involved in that, or Jews or whatever, but it's a spiritual overtone. And with the city of Philadelphia has got involved, and the Philadelphia police we work side by side with, and it's no joke. Why I like that program so much is they give us radios when we go out. We talk to you. You want help? Okay, we hit the radio. A truck comes right down, picks you up, takes you to the Rock, triages you, find out what particular help you want, mental health, housing, whatever, and you go do it.
And they're able to get them placed.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing, so what's frustrating is we get out there once a month, but they do it weekly. But I get out there, and is to see the people that say they want help, and then you go back out there a week or two later and you see them again. We want help. We want help that's painless. We want help that we think we should get. Listen, I don't know about you, but I had to go through some pain. I'm sure you did too. But that pain was the foundation that my house is built on today. There's a lot of programs out there that are against that type of help. You know what I mean? Safe injection sites. I'm on a page on Facebook, Lost in Kensington. I have people contact me. I'm going to make food Where do you think I should bring it down there? I don't think you should bring food down there. Okay, I mean, might as well bring your couch down there too, so they have something to sit on while they eat. You know what I mean? I mean, are you doing that to make yourself feel good, or like get behind an organization and do something that's really helpful? Because one thing that people aren't speaking about, everybody's worried about the addicts' rights. That's ridiculous. And feelings. But check it out. Those people, them houses they're laying in front of, families live there.
I agree.
Nobody's talking about the kids that have to step over that to get to school every day. What kind of chance do you think they have seeing that? Because I know when I'm out there even talking to people, they don't put the needle down from their neck to have a conversation with me. So, Well,
I seen a thing about that, and they said, "Oh, well, that's why we wanted safe injection sites." No, the thing is to not allow it to go on so people could actually get help. That's why I asked you, can the Rock place them? Because there was people, obviously I'm on YouTube right now. This is going to be on YouTube, you know what I mean? They were like, "Oh, well, they came down, they did this, and there was no help available." But that's not the truth, because the Rock,
they wanted.
Well, the Rock is down there every day.
I can place people with a phone call, no insurance. But, are you willing to go through that pain?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We get you in a detox, I'll stick you out in a rehab somewhere, Christian rehab, free of charge.
So,
you know what I mean?
So, so harm reduction, though.
So check it out.
I mean,
when you have people, I have another dude that he goes, "Oh, I'm collecting stuff for book bags. I gave out 70 book bags in Kensington." You're giving out survival gear for them to stay there, right? Yeah. So I've talked to other addicts, and 80% of them people ain't from down there, maybe even 90.
Yeah.
They're from other states or whatever. I asked him, "Why do you go to Kensington?" This dude was in South Carolina or something. "Why do you go to Kensington every time you relapse?" He goes, "Because I don't need nothing. I can stay right up under the L. You don't get rained on, right? People, church, you go from one block to the next to passing out book bags, survival gear, meals, needles. I mean, man.
It's like a Disneyland.
Why do you think that happened?
It is.
Put the safe injection site next to your house. You know what I mean?
Well, I had a thing, right? So I was on a lieutenant from the fire department who was on the YouTube channel, and he went to Jefferson because he's with like paramedics and he's a firefighter, he's a lieutenant. So he goes there and they're talking about the safe injection site and where to put it in Kensington. And he said, "Well, why wouldn't you put it next to your house?" And the lady was appalled, like, "What?" And he said, "There's, like you just said, there's grandmothers down there. Because of the way that the neighborhood is, probably the father's arrested, to say, whatever. This grandma got to send her kids to school. She feels unsafe. The kids are unsafe. People with warrants, drug intoxicated. It's like, yo, these kids ain't even safe."
So I work, I'm around these kids in Kensington, and listen, I know before I started shooting up, when I was like, I'll never shoot up. And then I started hanging out with people that shoot up, and then it became just a normal thing to see somebody shoot up, and then eventually I shot up. So you have kids that are openly seeing people inject themselves, openly seeing prostitution. It has desensitized them before they even get to the age of 10. How do you think they're going to turn out?
Well, listen, this is a thing. It was on social media as well. The ladies walking, and a guy, they did this too. They doused them with gasoline. I know you probably heard of that, and lit the person on fire. Now, I have a big thought process on why these kids did that. Because they're growing up in an environment to where it takes their feelings away. Like they're, and
listen, these kids,
it's unbelievable.
Just knowing what I know, like Benjamin will get out and just go beat homeless people up and stuff like that. Practice stabbing them. Like these kids are desensitized with no empathy by the time they're young teenagers, and they don't have a snowball's chance in hell for survival, man. And then you get to see the guys that the haves and the have-nots down there. The have-nots are laying all over, and the haves are the guys on the corner. You know what I mean? make a choice, but there is no third choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
So like that's why like I get behind the rock and what they're about. Like we get these kids in there, they teach them the box, and they teach them about the Lord. They teach them about integrity and honor and stuff like that. It's way better than like working with addicts, as far as I'm concerned, because you get to change the trajectory of a kid before he even gets to our stage.
Yeah,
you know
to
what I
where
mean?
we are, yeah.
That's got purpose.
Well, that teaches them discipline as well,
Yeah.
like health-wise, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, even going as far as like the church is doing it, they're going to church. I think it's great as long as somebody believes in something outside of themselves. I believe that as long as it's good. You know what I'm saying? Now, going on, like I understand where you're at. What I did want to ask you too is, what do you feel about the like doing temporary wound care on the street though?
Okay.
Not in it, I mean,
Okay, so The Rock, when we go out as teams, as chaplains, like they'll be laying there with open wounds, man. I mean, horrendous stuff, right? Trying to shoot up in it and stuff. So we will not do wound care. You have to get up from where you're at and go to The Rock. And there's EMTs down there on deck.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's no feeding people in Kensington no more either, just unless you have a license or whatever. So listen, I get involved and feed about 250 people each month.
Yeah.
But you want to eat, you want your wound fixed, I'll make the call, dude will pick you up, take you down there, you'll eat, wound fixed, try to get you in
treatment.
But there is no treating on the spot.
Yeah.
No way. Listen.
The point is to get them up and get them
What
out of that
people don't
environment.
understand is like addiction's ugly. All right, addiction's ugly. I have a pastor and his kid is on the spectrum and he headbutts and he'll freak out. He's in his 20s. So he had an episode and me and my pastor, I was helping my pastor. He was walking down the alley. He had him by the arm and had him by the neck, right? Walking him. Now, somebody driving past that alley would be like, man, what are they doing to that kid? When really we're stopping him from hurting himself. So some people don't know what it's like to stop people from hurting themselves and think, oh, this is ugly. No, listen, you're going to have to go through some pain. And to you people that aren't addicts, it may look a little ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know it had to get real ugly for me before I busted it.
The look could be deceiving of trying to help somebody that is on the fence of getting help. But usually they don't even get to the fence if people are letting them do it.
When your kid runs out into traffic, you gonna snatch her by the hair? Do you care at that point what she thinks about you snatching her by her hair? No, you're saving her life.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing with these guys. They'll cry and moan, and they don't want to be in pain, and they want to. Come on, man.
Did you ever hear somebody say, oh, the detox don't hold with fentanyl? Hey, listen, it's not going to be painless. That's a guarantee.
Right. Yeah, I was always like, I can't be in pain. Hey, man, pain builds character.
So right now, though, in 3 days, what were you telling me about? You were telling me about, so what you were saying in Lebanon, and they were communicating with the chaplain and the pastor and this and that. So what is it like, all Christian, all over the country that actually talk to each other? So
Calvary Chapel, they just did a movie called Jesus Revolution. It was at movies.
Yeah.
It's about Chuck Smith, the founder of Calvary Chapel. I mean, aside from the Catholic Church, I think Calvary Chapel may be one of the biggest churches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
Christian though.
Yeah,
so it's not.
Throughout the world, it's not a denomination.
Not Roman Catholic, but
it's
you're
not
saying
denominational.
Yeah, non-denominational.
We teach strictly the Word of God. Not like we don't teach Bill's interpretation of the Word like a lot of churches do. We go right by the Word of God, word for word. We're a word for word Bible teaching church, and so and we all work together. And we have many programs for addictions. And there's all sorts of addictions, man. Sex addictions, porn addictions. I've met people. Listen. There's. As an addict, I always think addiction's the only problem, man. But I've seen people fall over pornography,
gambling,
shopping, greed. You know what I mean? I mean, they're all in there, man. They're all deadly. You know, we just look at it from our perspective. You know, listen, man, let me just say this. Thank the Lord you were an addict. Because ain't nobody chasing down the lady in the Mercedes that's going to hell. And you can't explain to her how your vanity and money, your worship and money and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, you know, as addicts, you know, we're shooting up and stuff. Like in today's society, like people point, you got a problem. You know, nobody's pointing at them saying you got a problem. You know.
So the thing that you were talking about, though, the reason why I asked about all, you know,
tomorrow starts the East Coast Pastors Conference in Philadelphia. I guess it's between 2,000 and 3,000 pastors out there and servants. You know what I mean? And it's just 3 days of teachings and just getting close to the Lord.
How many people you there?
I think there was 2,500 last year.
Okay.
You know.
And where's this held at?
Calvary Chapel, Philly, Southern Northeast.
Okay.
It's a big church. There's
I think Harrison Ave?
I don't know, dude. I don't remember a couple 3 events I go there.
Yeah.
But I think they have like 6,000 people.
Okay.
It's a big church.
Yeah.
So, you know, they just listen. They've been behind me for 13 years or so, and you know, they're God. You know, what they call it God. God's the hound of heaven. No, that's what's cool is like God will just keep after you and keep after you. And they do too. They did too. They see me in my worst estates, come pick me up, you know, and try to help me. But, you know, one thing, especially, you know, with me working with addicts, I could say this from working in addictions too, is like, you got to walk that last mile yourself. You know, I know people that, family members included, that, you know, you help or you force them into programs and stuff, and it just never really works, you know. So like the people laying in the street, man, like it's just important that they go into this, walk into this, and walk that mile themselves. We can help them and encourage them, but eventually you gotta go after this thing, you know. It's just like another thing, like about working, you know. The Apostle Paul, greatest apostle of all, he was a tent maker. So as he did all that, or 13 books of the Bible, he was making tents, paying for his own ministry. You know what I mean? That's what's cool about here. Like, you know, I tell people, like, because there's other houses too where you just lay up and get, what are them donations, tuitions and stuff like that. Scholarships made. I've seen people in the funds trying to get one from here and there. Yeah. Like, you know, it's a recipe for disaster. We're built to work. You know, I mean, there's situations surely that, you know, people can't work, and the people that can are responsible to help them people. You know what I mean? But like, we want to just get a lot of.
I mean, even with me with that scholarship stuff, and like there's a lot of good nonprofits that do scholarship.
Yeah.
But you know, when they run out of money, people come. I just look at it like, all right, well, these people, it ain't their fault they didn't get it or whatever. So, well, hey man, you didn't get your free money. That's, you know, like you got honor it. All right, your scholarship anyway.
Yeah.
You know. I love the fact that when people ain't got money and they got 4 open beds and they're right away, they're like, you know what I mean, throwing a dude out because for what? There's an empty bed there. Like, let them live and sleep. So, whatever. There's a lot of bullshit with that. But, yeah, man, I don't know.
So, you know, and like, you know, staying in, you know, so people ask me, people that know me from my past, and my father had 43 years in AA before he died, and 18 off cigarettes. He'd always say 43 years later. So my dad's this big AA. You know, they talk about the old school AA guys.
That's cool.
So I go into AA meetings in New Jersey, and my dad's name is Bill Tillett. It's like, oh, it's Junior, man. I'm so glad you're doing good. Like, you know, and people ask me all the time, how did you pull this off? First of all, I didn't pull it off. But secondly, if I had to put something to it, it's serving others. You know what I mean? When I stopped serving myself and started serving others, I didn't know it, but my life became super blessed. I think a lot has to do is because I'm not so centered on self anymore, and I'm worried about other people, and like it's a heart thing too, dude. You know what I mean? Like helping others. I wasn't the person that helped others. I wasn't. I got mine. You ain't got yours. Too bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Damn straight. Yeah.
So it's an exercise of discipline to help somebody else. And then like, so sometimes, man, like here's a hit too. A lesson that I learned is, we're under authority of God. God puts people in authority in our life. We're to listen to that authority. Okay? So, and jobs, whatever, bosses, whatever you want to put there. I only functioned under cool authority, good authority, but I can't function under bad authority. You know what I mean? So, I put it in the perspective of this. If God looks down and says, well, I need somebody to go here. And then he's like, Billy don't function good under bad authority. We can't send him. It's almost like saying, put Billy in the ring, and they go, nah, he's only a 2-round fighter. He can't go the distance. Once I learned to function under all authority, I was okay. Well, and what came with that is, I don't like everybody. I don't. I'd be lying to you if I told you I did. But, the people that I don't like don't know I don't like them. I'm expected to love people. And listen, there's discipline in helping somebody you don't like. You know what I mean? It's going against whatever's inside you. And once you start doing that, I'm not gonna. You want to hear something?
Well, thank you for still helping me.
It's wild, man. I'll say this now. Like, so, I used to have a dinner at my house, and this I learned a discipline. I would invite all the people I didn't like.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And after a while, I'm cool with them. It's always something me, usually seems like. But yeah, under the guidance of a pastor, so I started engaging them more. My other pastor, he tells me all the time, when I want to avoid something, he'll be like, no, I want you to press in. Come on, man.
Get a lesson out of it.
Come on, man. Can't I avoid it? He goes, no, you avoid everything up till now. And there's no growth. I want you to press in and go harder with that person. And listen, it's been a blessing. Like we were talking about earlier, Ryan. I'm not stressed. I'm not worried. Things happen in God's time for God's reason, dude. Jesus only told me, take my burdens, man. I can cast my burdens onto Jesus because I can't handle the burdens of yesterday and I can't handle the burdens of tomorrow. So I just deal with today.
So yeah, man. Listen. Dude, I could talk to you for hours and listen to you for hours. Honestly, I think it's a great thing that you're doing. I ask everybody this. I think I already know the answer, but I'm gonna let you say it again so people can hear it. What are 3 things you stand by?
The Lord, Jesus, and love.
And hey, look. Basically, dude, we're gonna wrap it up with that. I appreciate everybody that's gonna watch this. I really, honestly appreciate having you on this, Bill. I plan on getting your son on here because even from what you did,
it's a 2-part story.
It sure is, though, and it is, though, and it's phenomenal because I know how your son was when you came and he's different. So that's going to be good, though, and he's funny as shit again, but but he's good now. He's good, and I could see it in him, and I could see the change in you. I could see the change. So that's what, dude. There's no words that I even could explain is that. There's different roads for everybody, but you know what I mean? To see the change in somebody where you see their heart change good is great. And please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Please, thank you, everybody. Have a good day. God bless.
Walk in faith, not in fear.